The observation deck of Station Kylara offered a panoramic view of the training grounds below, where young Vrexian cubs had gathered for their traditional rite of passage. Doctor. Juno Hale pressed her palm against the reinforced glass, watching with a mixture of fascination and concern as the reptilian younglings circled each other. Their obsidian scales gleaming under the artificial suns. "They will begin soon," rumbled Ambassador Threxel beside her, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. "The culling ceremony has been our way for 10,000 cycles." Juno's jaw tightened. She had read the reports, seen the medical records. Every year, dozens of cubs sustained serious injuries, broken bones, severed limbs, permanent scarring. Some didn't survive at all. The Vrexians considered it natural selection, a way to ensure only the strongest reached adulthood. But Juno saw something else. Unnecessary suffering masked as tradition. Below, the cubs had formed 2 lines. At the front of one group stood Cub Rekus, the largest and most aggressive of this year's cohort. His silver-tipped claws were already extended, his tail whipping back and forth with barely contained excitement. Rekus had won the last 3 training battles, leaving 2 cubs in the medical wing and earning the admiration of the elders. "There must be another way," Juno whispered. Threxel's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement or dismissal. "You humans always seek to soften the harsh edges of reality. This is who we are, Dr. Hale. This is how Vrexians become warriors. Warriors, yes. But corpses? Cripples? Is that really necessary?" The ambassador didn't answer. Below, the ceremonial gong sounded, and the first 2 cubs lunged at each other with frightening speed. For 3 weeks, Juno worked in secret in her laboratory aboard the human diplomatic vessel. She studied Vrexian physiology, their neurological responses, their cultural psychology. The challenge wasn't just creating a physical alternative, it was designing something the Vrexians would accept, something that preserved the essence of their tradition while eliminating the carnage. The breakthrough came when she analyzed the cubs' brain activity during combat. The rush they experienced wasn't just about violence, it was about challenge, dominance, the testing of limits. Juno realized she didn't need to eliminate the competition. She needed to redirect it. She called her invention the Echo Arena. The system used advanced holographic technology combined with neural feedback interfaces. Cubs would wear specialized harnesses that monitored their movements, strength, and tactical decisions. In the arena, their holographic avatars would battle with all the ferocity of real combat. But when a fatal blow was struck, the harness would deliver a harmless neural pulse that simulated defeat without causing injury. The genius was in the detail. Juno programmed the system to account for every aspect of Vrexian combat: claw strikes, tail sweeps, bite force, even the tactical use of their natural camouflage abilities. The battles would feel real, test real skills, and produce real winners and losers. But no one would bleed. Convincing the Vrexian Council was another matter entirely. "This is an insult," roared Elder Kravax, slamming his massive fist on the council table. "You suggest we raise our cubs in fantasy, shield them from pain, turn them into soft prey." Juno stood her ground, though every human instinct screamed at her to flee from the room full of apex predators. "I suggest you raise survivors who become warriors, not casualties who never get the chance. The culling separates the weak from the strong," another elder hissed. "Does it?" Juno activated her holopad, projecting statistics across the chamber. "In the last 50 cycles, you've lost 2,000 cubs to the culling, 2,000 potential warriors, scientists, leaders, artists. How many of them were actually weak, and how many were simply unlucky? One misstep, one miscalculation, one moment of distraction, and a life with potential ends forever." She zoomed in on specific cases. Cub Teller killed in his first culling battle. His genetic profile showed enhanced cognitive abilities. He might have become a brilliant strategist. Cub Yenna crippled at age 7. She demonstrated exceptional spatial awareness. She could have been your finest pilot. The chamber fell silent. "I'm not asking you to abandon your traditions. Juno continued, her voice softer now. I'm asking you to evolve them. Let the cubs compete. Let them fight, struggle, fail, and triumph. But let them live to learn from it. Ambassador Threxel leaned forward. And you believe your Echo Arena can preserve the spirit of the culling? I believe it can enhance it. Instead of one battle that might end in death, cubs could face hundreds of challenges, learning and improving with each one. The strongest would still rise to the top, but they'd be stronger, more skilled, more tested than any generation before them. Elder Kravox growled, but there was uncertainty in his eyes now. We will observe a demonstration. If it proves inadequate, we will never speak of this again. Agreed, Juno said. But I get to choose the test subject. She chose Cub Rekus. The young Vrexian stood in the Echo Arena with visible skepticism, his silver-tipped claws tapping against the neural harness. Above him, holographic opponents materialized not one, but 5, each programmed with different fighting styles. This is a joke, Rekus snarled. Ghosts cannot test a warrior. Then prove it. Juno replied, through the arena's speakers. Defeat them all. What happened next silenced every doubter in the observation chamber. Rekus fought with savage intensity, his holographic avatar moving in perfect sync with his physical body. But these opponents were different from the cubs he'd brutalized before. They adapted, learned, countered his strategies. When he relied too heavily on his claw strikes, they baited him into overextension. When he used his size advantage, they exploited his slower recovery time. For the first time in his life, Cub Rekus was truly challenged. He lost the first battle in 40 seconds. The neural pulse of defeat made him stagger, his eyes wide with shock. But instead of injury, he felt only the burning need to improve. He demanded a rematch. He lost again, and again, and again. But with each defeat, he learned. He began anticipating attacks, varying his tactics, using his environment. By the 15th battle, he was holding his own. By the 20th, he achieved his first victory. When the session ended 2 hours later, Rekus collapsed to his knees, exhausted but unhurt. His scales were unmarred, but his mind was transformed. He looked up at the observation window where the elders watched, and for the first time, Juno saw not arrogance in his eyes, but respect. Again, Rekus panted, I want to go again. 6 months later, the Echo Arena had been installed in every Vrexian training facility across 3 star systems. Cub mortality rates had dropped to 0, but more remarkably, the quality of Vrexian warriors had improved dramatically. The new generation was faster, smarter, more adaptable because they learned from thousands of battles instead of just a handful. Juno stood on the observation deck once more, watching Rekus lead a training session for younger cubs. He'd become an instructor, using the Echo Arena to push his students to their limits while keeping them safe. Ambassador Threxel approached, his posture more relaxed than she'd ever seen it. You have changed us, Dr. Hale. Some among my people resent this. But I... Juno smiled. I didn't change you. I just gave you a better way to be who you already are. Perhaps that is what humanity does best, Threxel mused. You see problems we accept as inevitable, and you dare to imagine solutions. It is both infuriating and admirable. Below, Cub Rekus roared instructions at his students, his silver-tipped claws gesturing emphatically. He was fiercer than ever, pushing the young cubs harder than any instructor before him. But now, his ferocity built warriors instead of destroying them. As Juno watched, she thought about humanity's role among the stars. They weren't the strongest species, or the smartest, or the oldest, but they had something precious. The stubborn belief that just because something had always been done one way, didn't mean it couldn't be done better. Sometimes, the most revolutionary act wasn't destruction or conquest. Sometimes, it was simply caring enough to try.